Hey, welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. We're glad to see a lot of you here in person, and some of you are joining us online. We want to welcome you to True North. In just a minute, we're going to have a 4-minute party. The way we do that is we'll all stand up and meet one another. When we do that, we want you to meet somebody that you don't know or haven't seen in a while and say hello, and then you can come back and grab a seat in just a moment. But we're glad to have everybody back. We have quite a few things on tap for tonight, so get ready for some excitement. Did everybody have a fairly decent spring break? On a scale of 1 to 10, hold up how many fingers, what do you got? We have a 10, a 7, 9s, a couple of, 7s, maybe a couple of 3s. All right, well, I'm not sure what happened on spring break that you would have a 3, but did you have an okay spring break?
Yeah, it was good. We got to go to the beach.
On a scale of 1 to 10?
It was a 10.
Oh, it was a 10?
It was pretty good. Well, okay, it was an 8. It was like 50 degrees at the beach.
Wait. You went from a 10 to an 8
Well,
really
I forgot
fast.
how cold it got.
Oh, okay. It got cold. Okay.
It got cold at the beach.
Hey, if you've got a cell phone, could you turn that off for us so that it's not going to be a distraction, everybody? That'd be great. If you could turn those off for us, that'd be awesome. We got a good crowd here. Hopefully we have some folks tuning in and watching us at home. If you're watching at home, go ahead and scan this QR code. You can get a picture of it and you can scan it later, or you can have somebody else at home scan it. Lots of ways to do that, but we'd love to have a record of knowing where you are, and who you're watching with. So there's a lot of folks. Some of you I know are here. I've already met a couple of folks that are here for the very first time, and there are some returning guests. We're glad to have you with us. And in just a moment, we are going to have a chance to meet everybody, okay? Our students are going to help us out. Come on up here. We have a couple of folks that are going to help out. And if you are a guest, when we all stand up, come and meet these folks right up here. They've got a Baskin-Robbins gift card for you just for being here. We're not going to embarrass you or call you out. When we all stand up, you can do that. Everybody else, take a moment. Take a moment to find somebody you haven't seen in a while. Greet a guest. Introduce your guest to somebody else. Let's all meet at least one person that we do not know. It is time for what we call the 4-minute party. Let's stand up and let's go.
Hey guys, how have y'all been? Hi. I've been pretty good. How are you? I'm doing pretty good. What's something about your spring break that went really well? I went to Colorado for spring break and was snowboarding and also had my birthday.
How old are you?
I'm 16.
Nice.
It was pretty good. We didn't do much. We went up to my grandfather's house and stayed there for a while. But in Ohio, really, really small town. But yeah, that was pretty fun. So I guess that's it. You guys have a good True North and have a good rest of your day.
All right. We need everybody in the room to listen very carefully, because otherwise you're going to be misinformed, and you don't want to be misinformed. We have several things that we need to make you aware of, and you're going to want to make sure that you are hearing all of this. If you got it, say got it. Some of you may not care. Some of you will care a whole lot. But we are at least ready to let you know how you can begin to get ready for a couple of things that some of you may want to get ready for. Okay, Mike, are we ready? Here is the first one right here. So, it feels moderately exciting to hear enthusiasm in this room once again. I'm assuming that is genuine enthusiasm. I'm assuming that's genuine. Now listen very carefully. I need everybody to listen, because otherwise you'll be misinformed. Kids Camp, as of this moment right now, today, Kids Camp is happening June the 1st through the 5th. All right. You got it? We good? June 1st through the 5th. We are going, and there are going to be kids, and there are going to be teens, and there will be only slight modifications, but we need to make sure we've been working on the application, which we're going to roll out. Now listen, because if you miss your date to apply, you get moved to the bottom of the list. I don't care who you are. So you need to make sure you're listening very carefully and following through, because we want to make sure that we make it available to folks. You've about got the application ready to go.
Yep.
And it's going to go live sometime this weekend. 11th and 12th graders, you will have the first week to get a chance to sign up. You'll have a week to get a chance to sign up starting Sunday. And then, hey, come on up now. We got an extra chair up here. Can we find an extra chair? Can one of you guys grab a chair there for 9? So we have a week for 11th and 12th graders to sign up. Now, you need not sign up if you cannot commit to being there the 1st through the 5th. We can't have a lot of people coming and going. We can't really have anybody coming or going. So you need to be able to be there the 1st through the 5th. Okay? If you've got a question or an issue about that, you can find one of us and ask us. But you'll need to be there for setup through takedown. And then 11th and 12th graders can apply. Then we open up to 9th and 10th graders the next week. We'll let you know with a text message and an email when it goes live. If you got it, say got it. Then, as soon as that happens, then we'll open it up to 7th and 8th graders. Now, in order for there to be space for all the students to be able to go who need to go, what's going to happen is that some of you are going to have to tent camp. Now listen, we're not going to be able to do tent camping likely the way we've done it in the past. We cannot have a lot of tents full of a lot of people. As a matter of fact, there is a chance that it may be that if you're a tent camper, unless you are with a sibling that is your gender, then you may have to be in an individual tent in an area where everybody's in an individual tent. We don't yet know that yet. We're still trying to figure that out. But listen carefully. It may be possible for those who are vaccinated or those who within a 3-month period of camp have already survived and gone through COVID with written parent permission that you might be able to tent camp in groups of more than one. That may mean just 2, it may mean 3, it may mean 4, probably not more than that. That part we don't know yet. If you got it, say got it.
Got it.
All right. We have limited space in cabins for teens. There's about 14 beds for guys and maybe 28 beds for girls, I think is the way it works. And so limited beds in a cabin. So if you are interested in camp, you will fill out that application and submit the application, but you need to be able to follow those guidelines, and you're not going to be able to come and go, okay? So we want to try to make room for as many as possible. We're going to start with 11th and 12th, then go to 9th and 10th, and then if there is space, 7th and 8th graders may apply. All right, if you got it, say got it. Anything that I left out about camp that we said we needed to make sure we mentioned?
There's also going to be another form that's going to go out specifically to the parents in an email about the same time. There's just a participation agreement, kind of like we did last summer. It's just kind of a re-up on that, just to say, yes, I'm okay with my son or daughter going to the events throughout the summer and the rest of the year. So carry out through 2021. And I know that, tent camping, for those that love it, tent camping by yourself doesn't seem super fun.
It seems way more fun than staying here and not going to camp at all.
Exactly. And I think, if Easter is any indication, our Easter service is past Sunday, if there's any indication of it's not exactly what we're used to, but it was great, that's probably how camp is going to go. Probably. Let's pray that it'll be that way.
We do want to continue to pray that happens. We've already got some exciting plans for what we're going to do. It's going to be a lot of fun, but we want to make sure if you've got questions, you can let us know. That's the first thing coming up, okay? So be looking for that application to go live. 11th and 12th graders, raise your hands wherever you are. Make sure you check that out, because if you say, hey, I missed that deadline, sorry, I'm going to turn in my application, we'll say, yes, your application has been received, and it will then move to the bottom. And if we fill up and don't fill up with all the other grades, then you can go. We need you to apply during the week that is open for you to apply. Okay, everybody got it? If you got it, say got it. If you have questions, let us know. All right, that's the first thing. That was exciting.
Yeah.
I was not really prepared for that level of excitement. I should have known, though, with Isaac here that we were going to get there. But I do think that we have one other thing that we're excited about. It's going to look even a little bit more different, but we're excited about this as well. Let's see, what's the next thing that's coming up on the calendar? Now,
Dang.
now here is what we can tell you. Here is what we can tell you about Impact. And this is, you need to listen even more carefully to this, because this is, it's going to look a lot different. It'll look different than last year. It won't look like 2 years ago, but it's going to look a little different. It has taken about literally 6 weeks of negotiating with the board and the Metro Health Department and Lipscomb and other forces, and a lot of prayer and a lot of meetings, and I'm talking hours of Zoom meetings. I may have Zoomed more in the last week than I did in the last 3 months combined, if you take out staff meetings. And it's been a long process. So right now, they are limiting the size of the number of people that are coming, and Impact, Lipscomb and the Metro Department of Health, whatever it's called, I probably butchered the name, they are not allowing any students to board or dorm on campus. So we are going to be traveling back and forth to go to Impact, because otherwise Impact was not going to happen. They said if you want it to happen, this is what it's going to look like. You can meet there, and there are going to be requirements. We're going to have to wear masks inside and outside as of right now, the whole time that you're at Impact, and all of our worship has to take place outside in certain locations. But we said we really want something to happen on campus. And we met with them and we've had lots of meetings. And so this is what's going to happen. And we're going to roll out. We've already reserved some spots. They're probably going to take away some of our spots and reduce them, because they're only allowing 750 people to go to the session at Impact. 750 teenagers. Which means that if the numbers that we took 2 years ago went, we would make up 1/7 of Impact. We do bring the most of any church that goes to Impact. And as of right now, it is going to be open to those who have completed the 7th grade through the 12th grade. That's right now. Any of this is subject to change. And if things change in our world, then all of this is subject to change. So be aware of that. But we're going to put up an application. This is extremely important, because I have zero control over this. Once we put the application up for Impact, you'll need to pay a deposit and get ready to go. Otherwise, there's a date. Make sure I make this clear, because it's not sounding clear as I'm saying it, but I want to make sure it's clear. There is a date that I don't know yet by which they will say, you now are obligated to pay for any spot you have reserved, or you sell it back. We're not going to lose money. We're going to sell our spots back. So if you miss and sign up late, and you come to me and say, hey, I forgot to sign up for Impact, I will have to say, you're on a waiting list, and if somebody cancels, you can go. But right now, it is full. I don't know if they're even going to allow us to have 100 spots. We had reserved, I think, 80 or so for junior and 80 or 90 for senior, back when we thought that it's a possibility that we might be able to have regular weeks and sessions of Impact. That doesn't look like that is going to happen at all. But we're going to do something on campus as our way of inching our way back to normal. And so when we sign up, you will need to be prepared to sign up and pay a deposit quickly. That deposit will probably be non-refundable. It'll be like a $25 deposit. You can pay the rest of it later. Or if somebody takes your spot, then we'll give you your money back. We're not trying to steal money from you, but we've got to have you signed up. If you are not on the list and we have to give our spots back, it's done. Does everybody got that? That's going to be really important, because there's already been several emails saying, hey, North Boulevard, you might have to reduce the number that you bring in order to allow other people to go. So it may be the first, 80 people that sign up. And so we are going to give priority once again to those who've completed the 9th through the 12th grade. And if we have space in our spots, then the 7th and 8th graders will be able to sign up. We want everybody to be able to go. But we want to make sure that those who have had Impact taken away from them last year have a chance to go, because they don't have as many as some of you other students that will have, Lord willing, several more years. Does all that make sense? Normally our announcements don't take this long, but we really wanted to make sure these things were communicated clearly. In our discussions, is there anything that I've left out that we might want to highlight about that? We don't yet know how we're going to transport and get everybody back up and back and forth. We may not be able budget-wise to provide transportation. which may mean that parents, we're going to need some of you to be willing to shuttle folks. We don't want teens driving other teens. Some of you will have permission of your parents to drive yourself, but we're going to have to discuss all that. We'll work those details out later. You will still eat lunch and dinner on campus. You will be on campus from the morning, but Impact is going to go June the 21st to the 23rd. The 21st, 22nd, 23rd. It's going to be 3 full days. Those are the dates that they have given to us. The 21st, 22nd, that's a Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday. Some groups are having to come from out of town, and they'll have to find hotels, and it's going to cost them quite a bit of money. It just doesn't seem prudent or wise for us to try to go and do that, and we don't have the transportation to get people back and forth from places. So that's what's going to happen there. Were you going to add something?
Yeah, if there is ever a summer that's been important of you have to sign up and you've got to sign up by this date, like it's going to be out of our control. So, you know, if you miss it, you miss it. At some point, you're going to have to sign up for applications for college and all those things. So let's go ahead and get you ready for that by signing up for these things.
We don't want anybody to not get to go because you just forgot to sign up, because every other year you could sign up until the week before and we had spots available. We may have spots available if people back out, but it's very important that you jump on this and sign up if you want to participate in these. I want to open up to large group questions. Isaac, unless your question pertains to something everybody needs to know. It is just going to be all ages for that 750. If the 750 fills up quickly, then we have a couple of scenarios to look at as what we may do, but it'll probably just be maybe opening up a second session. It won't be doing split junior and senior. So that's what's going to happen. It'll be everybody together there, and you will be coming home each evening and going back up. It's 3 days. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, that'll be the schedule. It was that or nothing. And we're trying to work on, obviously, a very limited budget, but we want you to have an Impact experience with other people, corporate worship with a lot of other people, and we're going to make it awesome because you're going to respond the way you did to these things. You want them, any form of them, as badly as anybody else. So it's going to be a great blessing that people aren't saying, well, this isn't like what I wanted or this wasn't what I hoped. It's going to be a great time together. So if you have specific questions, you can let us know. Parents, if you're watching at home and you've got questions, you can let us know. We'll roll out more information. A lot of this information just became possible this week. The Impact information just became possible as of technically this morning. And so there we go. That covers all of that. Good. That was a lot. It was good. Those were several commercials for Impact and Camp.
They're exciting things. They just didn't sound very
They
exciting.
weren't as exciting as my favorite commercial it was a long time ago, and they just recently played it a lot during the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
First of all, let me just settle this. We had this debate earlier. The NCAA tournament, okay?
Oh, yes.
I don't want to offend anybody, but help me. Is there anybody here who says tournament? I'm really confused as to where that is. What'd you say?
David Young does.
Oh, okay. I don't know. We should ask him. We should hold up a card and say, what does this say?
Is that a metaphor?
It'd be a metaphor for a lot of things. So, the tournament. Or if you're from East Tennessee, it's like the tourney. The tournament.
Yeah.
But anyway, during the NCAA tournament, they played this commercial, which some of you saw recently, but you don't know that it was a commercial from like 10 years ago, featuring one of my favorite basketball players of all time because of his name and how much fun it is to say. Mike, I think we have that commercial. Let's roll this commercial. I don't know why I like it so much. I think it's because his laugh is so creepy. That's why. Man, Dikembe Mutombo was a monster. So several years ago, to get ready for Toy Drive, Jeff McClain and I decided to try to duplicate that. We thought it would be a really easy commercial. It looks easy, but it wasn't. We'll show you our tip. This is for the Toy Drive. So I know Toy Drive's not around the corner. I mean, it is. It's coming around. But let's roll this one, and we'll see our version of it. Oh, I forgot. That's me. Thank you. We're going to open up the NBYG Video Vault. There we go. The NBYG Video Vault, and here's the commercial that we made. There we go. All right, that was fun. The NBYG Video Vault. I meant to tell Jeff we were going to show that tonight. Jeff's a good sport. Now I forgot what's happening next. Thankfully, I got this right here, so we're ready to go. Oh, now it's time to spotlight some of you guys in a moment that we're calling our picks of the week. We always call it that. I don't know what to call it. Here are the picks of the week. We start off, though, with a couple of slides. My mom found an old slide projector. How many of you in the back have slides at home? Anybody have slides at home? Is it just our family? Joy, Dottie, y'all have slides at home? Do you really? Charlie, do you have slides? Okay, very good. So we found some slides. My mom was sending me pictures of the slides because that's how you do it in 2021. Okay. Because does anybody even know what a slide is? Raise your hand if you have no idea what a slide even is. Seriously, raise your hand. Everybody's like, I'm not raising my hand. I don't know what it is, but I don't want anybody to know. So it's like a little picture that's on a little white little deal like this, and you put it in a slide projector. Anyway, here's one of them. There's me and my cat. That's my cat. Her name was Kitty. Here's the next one. This is my dog Zero and my rabbit Red Eye, and they would often eat dinner together. Thankfully, you follow it. We named my dog Zero because I was 3 years old when we got her, and I wanted to name her 3, and my mom said, you can't name her 3. So I said, okay, 2, and they're like, you can't name her 2. And I was like, 1. You can't name her 1. You got to come up with another name. And I said, well, all that's left is Zero. So we named her Zero. So there you go. There's Zero and Red Eye. There's me on my very first bicycle. Apparently my parents didn't have enough money to buy me a belt for Christmas after they bought that. And then I think the last one, here's the last one. This is the very last slide. And I'm trying to see. Oh, she's not here again? Yeah, that's Molly Spate's dad. Molly Spate's dad came over for a party one night, and there we are. So, all right, those are our slides. Now we get to the really exciting part. I put that in there just for Molly. Molly, does Molly come to True North ever at all?
Yes, she does.
Oh, she's playing. All right. Hey, you made a happy face over spring break.
Yeah, I made several.
You and Lizzie are in there. You appear in this multiple times.
Yeah.
Here's one. Here, the Johnsons are at the zoo, I think. Are they here in the room? I think this was the zoo in Knoxville, Nashville. I don't know. Molly Kate sent this happy face pic in. That's a great one. Here is the Malugians went to the happiest place on earth.
Wow, I'm jealous.
Or so they say. It was great. Was it fun? Okay, I was really expecting 2 different answers. I should have just gone and chaperoned this trip. I just would have loved to be around there to watch the 2 of you experience Disney together. So I can't really hear very well, Jillian. Can you tell me what was the highlight of the trip? Everybody get quiet so I can hear. Okay, the Magic Kingdom, I guess. I won't ask your sister what the highlight is because I'm sure it'll be a funny answer, but I don't want to put her on the spot. But I'd love to know her answer. Hey, text me her answer. Text me what the highlight was for her. Okay, so other folks went to Disney. There we are. And so, Allie, who's your friend? Okay, did you have a great time? What was the highlight of Disney for you? Animal Kingdom. All right, very good. Here we are. Is this Gatlinburg?
Dollywood.
Okay, all right, Dollywood. That bear is a little creepy back there. They make you like stand in that circle?
Is it the circle of life? What is it?
It's like
it looks I didn't know if it was like
a bear trap.
The knockoff version of Disney's Circle of Life in Dollywood.
I mean, that bear is probably in the safest costume outfit of anybody in all of Tennessee. Yeah, and the bear's like, yeah, all right, there you go.
Social distancing.
And then Madeline went to Vail. Vail was awesome. She was skiing, and it was Madeline Holton. And here's a crew that went to the experience. Okay, great. There they are. And then, hey, this was a happy face pic.
Yeah.
Zeb was baptized.
That was awesome.
That was technically before spring break started, but it may be the only time we get Zeb to do a happy face, so I wanted to show it in this slideshow. And then, hey, the Boggs went to a Buc-ee's, is that right?
Yeah.
You call it Buc-ee's or Buc-ee's?
No clue. I'll never be going back.
It's called Buc-ee's? Okay. I've heard people correct me and say it's Buc-ee's. Okay, all right. I don't know. Lizzie, what was the highlight of Buc-ee's for you? Nothing. Okay, very good. Hey, we have the helicopter. Charlie got to see a helicopter. There's Charlie standing on the helipad. All right, very good. Charlie and Blake got so close to the helicopter that it gave them both haircuts, apparently.
Yeah, that's how it works.
All right, there's, the Benzingers sent us a happy face pic. No, they didn't send us one. They sent us two. There it is. No, they sent us three. There they are at Animal Kingdom. No, wait, they sent us another one. There they are at the aquarium. And I think that may be all. Yeah, and then Garrison went to Gary's Cafe. It's nice. Let's go back. The highlight of Disney for the Benzingers was what? Epcot. Okay. Not many teens will say Epcot is the answer for the. Very good. Okay. Gary, did you eat at the cafe?
Oh, yeah.
Did you tell him your name was Gary?
I did. They shut down by the time I came back. It's closed for good.
Because you told him your name was. They were like, "Hey, my name's Gary. Get out! Everybody out! We're shutting down for good."
It's false advertising with
Yeah.
breakfast anytime.
You might have won, Gary, if a bear had been 10 feet behind you, peeking out from behind a tree. You might have won with all that going on in that picture.
And is this inside the manager's office at Premier 6? I
Yeah.
knew it the second I saw it.
Do what?
Oh, you were in the manager's chair?
Yeah,
Wow.
Sam is in the manager's office at the Premier 6. I was like, I know I've seen that wall somewhere. Because I was in there talking to the manager once about our Lion King deal, and then Blake was like, I think that's at the Premier 6. There you go. You look really happy. You were. Oh, big surprise. All right, this is a great one. This one just came in. All of our Central grads. This is a good happy face pic. I didn't zoom in on it. I should have, but I got this one literally as I was walking out the door. Gary sent this to me as I was walking out the door. So here's our honorable mention for first place. I saw this and I was like, I got this picture first by itself, and I'm like, I don't know what this is. And I was like, what is this? I mean, I recognize those images, but I don't know what I'm supposed to be. And it turns out that we have an entire group from Woodbury. All the Woodbury contingent, raise your hand. Where's all of our Woodbury? They take up a whole row over here. They decided they could not go a week without True North, so they all met together in Woodbury, and they had their own version. Here they are. They all gathered, and it's Welcome to Not False, Not South. So it's like the opposite of True North.
Right. They're worried about copyright infringement and wanted to make sure that they're protected.
But it wasn't the opposite of True North, because that would be False South. That's the opposite. This is actually just another way of saying True North.
Right. Copyright. They don't want to get in trouble.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
There they are. They all look. Everybody looks really happy except Case there in the blue sweatshirt at the top. Case looks like he's a little like they're making you do this. He's like, do not make me do this, because if you do, then he'll point me out at True North, and I'm probably already in trouble. So I'll move on. So this was our honorable mention. Great job. I hope you all had a great time. I'd love to hear what happened. I'd love to hear how that all turned out. But we do have a winner. We do have a winner. Our winning 20 NBYG bucks.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. You get 20 bucks for taking a picture. And here's this year's winner for spring break. This year's winner. Yeah. So I actually texted to make sure I had permission to show this picture, and your dad said, yes, you have permission. And I just realized maybe he didn't ask you. Maybe he just said you have permission. Oh, he did ask.
Okay.
Good. I was feeling really bad. And I was like, do I have permission to show this picture? And Britt was like, yes. I should have said ask Knox. So are you feeling better? You're all good. Do you remember this picture? Okay. When I had my wisdom teeth taken out, I was probably 17, and they wheeled me out in the wheelchair. And true story, I told everybody in the waiting room, I said, don't do drugs. And then I said, no joke, but I can see why people do. And my mom was like, stop talking, and she just rolled me on out of there. That's what I said. I'm not trying to make light of that. You really shouldn't.
Yeah, don't do drugs.
Because a lot worse can happen to you than getting wheeled out by your mom from the orthodontist office or dentist office. All right, so congratulations, Knox. Knox is our winner. Those are your pictures of the week. All right, we're already behind, but we made a commitment.
We have made a commitment. It's one that
We made a commitment. Mike, go ahead.
I'm not necessarily excited that we made
It shouldn't take long.
Yeah.
This
It's
may-
gonna it may take 2 minutes.
This may only take a minute. Well,
Yeah.
2 minutes. You're right. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay. We made a promise. It's time for, until somebody wins, another round of Don't Say It. The worst graphic ever. This is the worst graphic. All right. We have, hey, now this week we've upped the ante. We still have for those watching at home, they probably already turned it off. We still have the two $10 iTunes gift cards that are waiting to be spent. We have
Our
the
$25 Applebee's gift card.
$25 Applebee's. The
I'm
jackpot.
not even sure there's an Applebee's in Murfreesboro.
You know what I love? Yeah, there is.
Oh, there is?
Right down the road.
Sorry, clearly I don't go to
The only
Applebee's.
thing good at Applebee's is their roasted corn on the cob. That's the only thing, in my opinion, it's the only thing good at Applebee's. Which,
Oh.
ironically, we told you we're going to add to the prize package every week. And so this week, on top of all this, we have, tell us what we have.
You ever eat corn but not want to get the butter on your hands?
Yeah, that's right. You need a corn holder.
You should get unicorn corn holders.
Oh, nice. You just impale the corn. Zach,
Yeah.
can you zoom in on that? Is Zach able to zoom in on this?
Yeah.
Wait, this is the only time they've ever clapped during this entire Don't Say It run.
Well, as it all goes downhill from here.
Okay, so we're going to add this. Now some people are like, oh.
At some point, we're going to have to get a gift basket
They're
because this
like,
is just
I
going to
wanna
stack
play.
up.
Oh, we'll find something to put these in eventually. Kate and Lizzie McCrary, come on down. You all sat on opposite sides? You're supposed to be like feeling the mojo here. Now, you all came up and said, I'm really excited about this. Who's going to be giving clues first? Okay, she is. Go stand right over there. And we're going to block this screen up right here, and you're going to stand here. You can pull your mask down so that we can hear you. You know how it works. Actually, apparently nobody knows how it works. But here's how this works. We're going to give you 60 seconds, and you're trying to get 6 words. Is that right?
6 words.
You're trying to get 6 words. Okay, now let's these mics are maybe awfully hot here. We got them ready to go. They on? Okay. You're going to look up there. You can say pass, okay? And you have to get 6 words. If they all go, and only do that if they violate one of the words or say one of the words. If you get 6, not only do you get the awesome prize package, but the next Sunday, donuts for everybody from Donut Country. So now we're all in the game. What was funny is we had a list of 8 different couples. I'm hearing like,
It's like crickets.
I just thought I was going crazy.
I was too.
Nobody else
I
was
had to ask
reacting, and I
Wyatt.
thought something's wrong.
It
does
sounds
sound
like crickets.
Which I hear often at True North when I talk. I'm used to hearing crickets. I didn't know it. Bill, you laughed way too hard at that. You should not laugh. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start. I'm going to give you your first word. If you get 6 right, your names will be put on a plaque or something and hung up here, and we'll celebrate the McCrarys. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Have y'all been practicing?
Yes.
Here's your first word. Nobody help her. Nobody help her at home. Here's your
hope you know
first
what
word.
this is.
This is your first word. Okay. When I say go, we're going to go for 6 words, and I'll advance. Ready, and go.
Okay, when you're in the car and you're driving down the road and you run over it and you're like
A speed bump.
No, you're like, ew, what is that?
A skunk.
Got it.
Turn
them up.
Pass. Okay, it's like a hedgehog, but it's like the
A porcupine.
Oh, 2.
Keep going, keep going.
Pass.
Keep going.
Pass. At Halloween, instead of trick-or-treating, sometimes they'll do
A party?
30 seconds.
No, a blank. I can't say that. It's like boo.
A ghost?
But like, okay, pass. We did this when you got here, and I said it's in your Chick-fil-A meal.
15 seconds.
What? There's nuggets and there's
mac and cheese. Food.
no. You
Something.
just said it.
French fries?
Got it. That's 3.
New.
Pass. When you are
Time.
All right. We got 3. We're making progress. All right, now y'all swap.
Wait, what'd you knock down?
Y'all swap. It was haunted house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A ghost.
All right. We're not going to do this word. We're going to go to the next word. You got 3. We start back over at 0, though. It's going to be 6 in one round.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready? Hold the mics up so we can all hear you, so you can hear each other. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Hold the mics up so that we can hear each other and we can hear you as well. All right. Here we go. Here's your word. I'll tell you when to go. You can say pass. If we run out of words, I'll have to go back to these. All right. 60 seconds on the clock. This is for donuts and awesome prizes. Go.
When you go to Disney World and you go into a meet and greet and you go meet Mickey, you give him a piece of paper, and what do they do on it?
Autograph.
Yes.
Got it.
When you go to like a car place and your car is not working correctly, what do they do to the car?
Repair.
Yes.
Got it.
It's a certain. Oh, you love this food. It's gluten, so I can't eat it, and it's
Bread?
circular, and it has a hole in the middle.
Donut.
No, the other one. You put,
Bagel.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You love working in this in church on Sunday morning and super
30
early.
seconds.
Nursery.
Got it.
Yes. Adam gets these on his legs, and you have to like whack your leg to get them
Mosquito.
off. Yeah.
Got it. It's fine.
Whoa!
You ate this at the mall with Lila, and you got sandwiches. What is it? What's the
Subway.
restaurant? Yes.
Yes!
Did I get it right?
Yeah.
I got it right.
Wow.
Right. They did it. It finally happened. Oh, that was so close. Hey.
Wow. With 15 seconds to spare.
We're playing one shining moment.
That was more incredible than that shot in the.
You what?
That was more incredible than the Gonzaga shot.
Yeah. I'm super excited for you.
Thank you so much. You guys are heroes.
That was really good. That was really, really good. Good job. So here's your iTunes gift cards. Here's your Applebee's.
Yeah. Enjoy
Go to
Applebee's.
Applebee's. And here are your unicorn corn holders. Well, the prize there were great prizes to come.
Yeah. I mean,
But we may have sufficiently killed that game for
Thank
at
you
least
so
the rest of the school
much.
year. All right. Hey, but Sunday morning,
we're getting donuts.
donuts, everybody. All right. Good job. Have a seat. Thank you. Wow. How many seconds were left?
There were 15 seconds on the clock when she said Subway.
Oh, they had 15 seconds left?
Yeah. So, I mean,
Wow.
killed it.
They could have.
They had
they
three
could have
at
kept
45.
going.
They had 2 or 3 at 45 seconds.
Yeah, that was amazing. All right, hey, those of you that are going to help us sing, come and get in your spot. We're going to go ahead and make a major transition, but that was awesome. Good job. Don't say it. Are those real crickets? Is that real cricket? Oh. I was like, I thought it was like maybe my microphone. It sounded like crickets, but it's actual crickets. All right, very good. Hey, I'm really excited about this. Like, this is for real. Because it's been a year. And I could get a little emotional just thinking about it because this is another big step towards feeling something that feels like normal again. Sharon Thornhill, who for months, several years, has coordinated our prayer people in this room. Sharon is in that room right now for the first time in over a year. She's fully vaccinated, and she said, as soon as I get through the vaccination period and allow it to kick in, I'm going to be back there because I want to see those prayer requests coming through the door again. Some of you are like, I have no idea what you're talking about because you've not been to True North since we've done it. But at the first Wednesday of every month, normally, we would have you write prayer requests down on a sheet of paper. Do not use the sheet of paper that's on your chair. You'll need that for something else. But there are some sheets of paper up here. Now, because we want to make sure that you are not cramming the stage, you can grab a sheet of paper and go somewhere else and write it. We don't want you all crammed on the stage together. If you got it, say got it. But you can write a prayer request down and put your name on it if you want. If you don't, that's fine. You can write whatever you want to write and slide it under that door, and Sharon Thornhill is going to spend the rest of True North praying for all of those requests. Parents, you can write something as well. You can write on another sheet of paper if you have it. You don't have to use one of these, but don't leave one of them for later. But there's pens in your chair, and you can fill these out right up here. And as we sing the first couple of songs, we'll leave the lights up for just a moment while we do that, and she'll take these requests, and she'll pray for these very requests every week for the next month, or somebody will, if they feel like being here. If not, she'll take them to somebody's house, and they'll pray for them. Okay? Everybody got it? So let's take a lot of you have had a year's worth of pent-up prayer requests, and you're like, I've just not had anybody pray for these things. We're only going to sing a few songs tonight, so take a moment to write one of these things down and then let her know. I'm so thankful to Miss Sharon. We told her to go ahead and go on in there so that she is, kind of safe and isolated. But she said, I want to be there. You guys remember you were texting them to her for a while, and she was praying for them. But now she wants to be here in person. And so if you see her or if you know Miss Sharon, just be sure and say thank you, because that's a great, great gift. So we're going to do that. Let's all stand together. We can turn the backlights out. We'll leave these up here for just a moment as we continue to worship together. You'll have the first 2 or 3 songs. You got to write a prayer, okay? Let's go. Humble yourself inside of the Lord. Humble yourself inside of the Lord. And He will lift you up. And He will lift you up. Jesus is the Son of God.
Inside the Lord. my feet. You are my sword and shield.
get the sheet of paper out that was on your chair. If you don't have one, you can look around and find one. If you've already written something on it, that's okay. But you are going to turn these in just a moment. So get the sheet of paper out that was there. Adults, you may have a sheet of paper on your table. You can participate in this as well. I'm going to ask you a very simple question. I'm not looking for funny answers. I mean, a lot of you are very funny, very witty, and we love that. But I want some serious answers to this question. I want you to think about $5. I want you to think about this question before you write anything down. If I asked you, told you that I needed $5, and you said, well, I don't have it on me right now. And I said, well, I'll give you a week to think about how you can come up with $5. Now, some of you would say, I'd go ask my mom and dad, Mom, Dad, can I borrow $5? And problem solved. Okay, I got that. Others of you would say, well, I just go out to my car or go home and I've got a jar that I keep some spare money in, and I would just go get it because I've got $5 at home. I just don't have it here. So we know a lot of you probably do that. What I want you to do, and I'd love for you to write your name on this because we're going to use some of these ideas, and there's going to be the opportunity. Now, we're not going to make anybody share an idea if they don't want to. So don't think that, oh, if I write my name down, he's going to call me up there. We would ask permission, and if you said, I'd rather not, we're not going to make you do that. So don't be afraid. But I want you to write down a creative, legitimate way that you could come up and generate $5 by next, or within a week's period, that you could come up with $5 that was moral, that was legal, and that wasn't going to hurt anybody else. I'm not looking for hilarious. I mean, they can be creative answers, and I really want there to be some creative answers. All right? The most creative answer that we get that is legitimate and real, we'll give some NBYG bucks to. Okay? I'll even double it. I'll give you 10 NBYG bucks for the answer that Blake and I think is the coolest, really cool way that you say. And I'm looking for realistic ways. Is everybody with me? So I'm going to give you just about 15, 20 seconds to just write down on that sheet of paper your name. You can put 3 or 4 ways if you like, but a legitimate way that you might be able to generate $5 if we gave you a week to do it. Okay? Maybe we give you longer than a week. Okay? It doesn't have to be exactly a week. But what's a creative way that somebody your age might come up with $5? I'm guessing some of the answers are going to be very similar. Like Family Feud, we're going to have a lot of people. There's probably going to be a number one answer. But I want you to be really creative. So think of some fun ways. What are some really out-of-the-box ways that you could come up with $5 that are legal and moral? They can be funny as long as it would end up in legitimately $5. Parents, you can write this down as well. You can jot these down. It might be a little bit easier for some of you to come up with $5. Those of you watching at home, if you want to email or text answers to us, we'll give you a chance to participate. Just make sure we have your name, and you can let us know, here's a cool way I can come up with $5. All right, I've kind of stalled long enough. You can continue to write, but we're going to gather these up in just a minute. And I'm going to ask Garrison and Spencer in just a minute if you'll gather all these up. We'll pass them on into the inside, but not just yet. If you've already done that, I want you to look at the screen, because we're about to invite you into something that is maybe bigger than anything that we have been a part of. But we're not just asking you to do it. We're going to invite quite a few other youth groups to do it. And some of them might even get a chance to meet you. And I'll explain to you how it's going to work. It's very simple. Simple math question. Who's pretty good at math? Who's one of our juniors or seniors who say, I'm pretty good at math? All right, you're pretty good at math. What level of math are you in right now? Okay, you're in calculus. Well, then you should be really good at this. I want you to solve this math, but it's not a trick question. I want you to solve this math problem. Okay? All right, 5 times, it's multiplication, it's x. 5 times 2. Okay, you answered that very quickly. 5 times 2 is 10. That's the answer to the question. But what if I were to show you an equation that said 5 times 2 equals, and I put a question mark there? You would either think, I don't know math. You would think there's got to be a trick. Maybe he's not talking about 5 the number 5 times the number 2, maybe doesn't know what he's talking about. Or you might think the question mark is there because there's possibly an answer that is even bigger or different than the answer that I expect. 5 times 2 is 12. Now, you're beginning to see a pattern. I've asked you to think about $5. Okay? And now I've given you a math problem involving 5 times 2. Now I want to show you a series of pictures. And I want you to follow along. This has to do with what we're talking about. You know that for years we've worked with EEM in September. Okay? Some of you have contributed to EEM. EEM takes Eastern European missions, takes Bibles and puts them into countries across Eastern Europe. They're doing something different in the month of April, and one of their first calls was to North Boulevard, and they said, we need your youth group to get excited about this. And so I went and had lunch with Dirk Smith. Dirk came and spoke to you a couple of months ago, back when we did it in September. Okay? Make sure everybody's locking in, because you got to make sure you follow this. Dirk and I went and had lunch together at Far East. I got back from lunch, and as I'm on my way in, John Magnuson caught me and said, hey, I need you to help me with something. And he pulled me into his office, and he said, hey, I just needed to ask your help for something about a project we're going to be doing in April. He explained the project, and he said, do you have any ideas? I'll fill you in on the project in just a minute. And I said, well, I got one idea. He said, what's that? I said, the idea that I've got is I just had lunch with Dirk Smith, and my guess is that God was preparing that conversation for this one. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, well, what if? And so I started asking questions. And things began to develop. And here's what's going to happen April the 22nd. Okay? April the 22nd. Hashtag Bibles for Kids is a new project for EEM. And here's what they're asking. They have 21 countries that want a number of Bibles, and based on the numbers that they've given, they need 520,000 children's Bibles, because 21 countries have had schools that have said, we really need these Bibles translated. We're talking into Farsi and into other languages. There's like 12 or 15 different languages, but 21 countries, 520,000 Bibles, and right now they've got 346,000 of them. They've got money for 346,000 of them raised. They need the rest of them covered. Now, those Bibles are $5. Actually, for $5, you can put 2 Bibles in the hands of kids. So if Wyatt gives me a $5 bill, then that's going to translate into 2 Bibles that we're going to give to kids. Except, for now, there's a donor that has called EEM and says, whatever you raise during this campaign, I'm going to match it completely. And so $5 now gives 4 Bibles. So Wyatt comes up with $5 with the answer. Just hold up your sheet of paper. I'm not going to read it, but just hold your sheet of paper up. With whatever he wrote down on this sheet of paper, he comes up with $5, and it's now 4 Bibles that 4 kids get Bibles. 520,000 Bibles would weigh as much as 19 elephants. This comes from their website. 520,000 Bibles laid end to end would stretch across more than 1,228 football fields. That's how many Bibles. And so for $5, you can get 4 Bibles, $25. You can see how the math works here. And somebody's going to double this amount as they try to reach 520,000 Bibles. Here are some of the pictures of some of the kids. Looks like a little Sam Duggar to me right there. And these are kids all over the country that have, all over the world that have already received these Bibles. And their anthem for this, or their motto, is "Together we can do this." I saw the video for this. It's a short video. We'll show it to you later, not tonight. But there's a video, and that was the end, the slogan. He said, that's kind of the slogan we came up with. Together we can do this. I come back from lunch. John Magnuson says, hey, can you help us with this project? And okay. And he tells me about the New Day conference that we normally have here is going to be doing a workshop in coordination with Lubbock Christian University on April the 21st and the 22nd. And on the 21st, wait, the 21st, is that the Wednesday, Blake? I'm sorry, I said 22nd, it's the 21st. That's a Wednesday night. They're doing a workshop on the 22nd for adults. But on the 21st, Lubbock Christian said any teenager who registers and signs up for this event, any of them, anybody that signs up will receive a $500 scholarship to Lubbock Christian University should you choose to go there. Anybody that signs up is going to get a $500 scholarship if you want to go to Lubbock Christian. But they're doing it for churches all over Texas. And so far, there are 16 youth groups that are signed up to participate with us. 16 individuals. Most of them are youth ministers, which represent their youth groups. Because listen very carefully, because this is where you come in. On April the 21st for True North, we're going to broadcast live just like we normally do, except we're going to be sending this link to all of those churches who've registered. So at least right now, 16 churches are going to be logging in with us and watching True North. And on that night, we're going to pick some of your answers, and we're going to say, here are some creative ways to have $5. And we're going to ask anybody that's here tonight, if you're able to use whatever idea you wrote down to come up with $5 or come up with another idea and bring $5 that night, we're going to lay all of that money on this stage. And if somebody wants to write a check for more than $5, you can do that. Some of you in the past that are watching that have matched what we've done in September, if you say, I'm willing, I can do September or I can do this, but I'll match one of those or we'll give. We're going to see how much money we can raise on that night on the 21st of April. And then all these other groups that are going to be watching, they're going to be watching live. We're going to have some of you come up and introduce you to people watching online. Right now, 16 different churches will be watching online, and there may be 160 churches by then. And we're going to ask that Wyatt will share his idea. Here's my $5, and here's what I did to get $5. And then Billy in Plano, Texas can say, you know what? If that guy did it, I can do it. And so he's going to come up with $5. But the equation was 5 times 2. So what happens if Wyatt then goes and finds a friend that's not in the youth group, but he goes and finds somebody at school? This is where it gets a little tougher. And he says, hey, I don't ask you for much, but I'm trying to put Bibles into schools in Eastern Europe, and I'm trying to raise, I got $10, I got $5. Would you just match me with $5? Because then it gives Wyatt a chance to share the gospel with a friend. It doesn't even have to be a Christian friend. It may be somebody from another church, but he gives a chance to share what EEM is about, not what our youth group is doing or what we're doing or what he's doing, but what God is doing around the world. We'll give you some resources that you can share and say, these are the kids you're putting a Bible into their hands. And we're going to see, and I'm serious about this, we're going to see that on that night, if we can get the money that we have, if we can ask all these churches, you guys commit to raising an amount, and let's see how close we can get to finishing off these other 120 whatever thousand, I didn't say the exact number, do the math, Bibles that's going to take to get to 520,000 Bibles. Because 5 times 2 may equal 10, like Sam said. Or 5 times 2, if everybody does that equation, it's no longer 10. It might just come close to 520,000 Bibles that a child's going to get in another country and will read it and then changes their family, possibly their community, and possibly their province or their nation. And then one day we see each other on the other side of life and they go, you don't know me, but I know you. Your name's Wyatt. Well, how do you know me? Because God just told me that I'm here because of a Bible, that your $5 that you made because that thing you wrote down, put a Bible in my lap in my school, and I'm here because of that. That's how it works. 5 times 2 equals, who knows? April the 21st. We want you all here. We'd love to have as many people watching online with us, but we're going to have 16 other churches. Everybody understand how it's going to work? You've all written down a cool idea of a way you can come up with $5. Would you just pass those into the middle? And we're going to get these guys to gather those up. And then, guys, if you'll just make sure that we get those, either hand them to Blake, he can put them in that chair, and we're going to read through these. We're going to pick some of them, and we'll call you. And we may say, hey, Wyatt, that's a really cool answer. Are you willing to share that? We want to get middle schoolers, high schoolers, guys, girls, people from all different schools. We want to get you up here to introduce yourself to some of your friends around, around the world, but certainly in Texas on that night. Okay, if you got it, say I got it. We're going to pass those back, and I'm going to ask right now that you open up to Ecclesiastes. We're going to go in really quick. We've only got a few more moments. That was not really a commercial. That was really, and it wasn't even just an advertisement or a plug. It was a challenge, but it was tied into exactly what we're doing. Because many of you have a Bible in your lap, and you've got 2 or 3 more Bibles at home, and some of these kids don't have a Bible. Did I forget something? Oh, okay, got it. So I want to make sure that you got the date down, April the 21st, that you're here. Be ready to hopefully bring $5 if you can, and we can't wait to read these creative ways that you come up with. There's going to be some cool ways. We're continuing on through the series. On that night, we're going to take a break from that series. Dirk's going to be here, and I'm going to interview him, and we're just going to talk a little bit about EEM and what they do. But we want to get other students. Imagine they look at the North Boulevard Youth Group, they're like, man, there's only 15 of us watching it in our church building. There's like 100 of them. It doesn't matter. If 15 kids get excited about raising $10 and getting a friend, then it begins to exponentially grow. And we want to challenge other youth groups. Join us in this because together we know we can do this. When I saw that slogan, I had just come from lunch with Dirk. John said, is there something that you could do with churches across Texas? And I said that God may have just given it to me at lunch. And so who knows that every time I eat at Far East from now on, I may think of the day that God said, this is where it started, that 520,000 Bibles are going to be placed across all these countries, and you get a chance to be a part of it. Adults, you can find a way to help us out as well. So I want you to open up to Ecclesiastes, and we're continuing with our series called Meaningless. And I want to tell you about a really cool moment that happened just the other week. Would you go back to chapter 7 with me? I know we're not putting it on the screen, so if you don't have a Bible with you, this series may be a little hard to follow along because I really wanted you to look in the text. If you got a device, that's okay too, but I really wanted it to be this, all right? If you're sitting anywhere else besides here, just make sure you're logging in. I know there's folks all around the room, and it's very tempting if you're not sitting here with us to tune out. But let's make sure that we're all together on the same page. And we're in Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Can somebody raise your hand in just a minute once I ask the question and tell me the Ecclesiastes writer, all of chapter 7 is really built around one word. You've probably even got a heading in your Bible that tells you what the answer to this is. Somebody raise your hand if you've got the heading that tells you what the goal of this chapter really is. Julia? Wisdom. He's now going and talking about kind of like the Proverbs that Solomon has also known for writing. And now he's going to give quite a few Proverbs. But he says something very confusing here about the day of death and the day of birth. Does anybody remember? I mean, it's obviously right there. But can somebody raise your hand and say, yeah, I remember, because it was really confusing. Clark, I'll repeat it for those watching at home.
Because there's so many things you can remember on the day of death, and there's not really very many things you can remember on the day of birth.
Okay, there's a lot of things that have happened to you on the day of your death, not a lot on your day of your birth. So what's his conclusion? Okay, he just says that, well, not necessarily death, but the day of death, that day is better than the day of birth. And you're like, no, that's a terrible day. His point is not that dying is better. He says that is a day that is more meaningful. Because when you leave a funeral home, you are aware of life. When you leave Disney World, you may have thought, I had a great time. Or maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But you're thinking, we had a lot of fun, but your life really isn't changed. But when you walk out of a moment like that, your life has changed. You're thinking about life. And Solomon says, if your life is going to matter, going to Disney World is fine. But those moments when you leave a hospital or you leave a funeral, your life is forever different. Now, we just studied that 2 weeks ago on Wednesday night. How many of you at least remember our discussion about the beginning of Ecclesiastes 7? So at one of our D groups on a couple of weeks ago, we were sitting there talking not even really about this particular text, but we were talking sitting at Bojangles, talking about the Bible. We kind of got a little sidetracked, and I thought, this conversation may not go anywhere. It's beginning to get derailed. And then I saw a guy sitting at a table right across from me. If I'm sitting at my table, he's sitting right over there. He had a Bojangles apron on. He was a large African-American gentleman, very tall, had his hat turned around backwards, and he brought his meal out, and he sat there, and he sat down, and he had, flour all over his hands and greasy gloves that he took off and threw away, and he sat down, and he just, and then he started to eat, and he got on his phone, he was checking his phone, and he sat there, and I noticed that for many months, I would see him sitting over there, and he would be taking his break. And I just kept telling myself, I really want to get to know who this guy is. One, because I would see him chuckle every now and then when somebody at our table would make a joke. Or I would see him sometimes roll his eyes more than sometimes, many times roll his eyes when something silly was said or something goofy was said. I would see him sometimes, kind of nod his head, and I couldn't tell if he was looking at a text or what he was doing, but this happened for about 4 months that he's been showing up and just sitting there, and it just so happened that his break would, coincide with the time that we were there every week. It's a pretty regular schedule. And so I thought, next time, I'm going to take the opportunity. Well, as the conversation at the table was completely derailing and coming off the rails, and I had completely lost control, I thought, I'm just going to give up trying to contain this. It's not a common occurrence, but it happens often enough. And I just said, hey, what's your name? And the whole table got really quiet. They were like, this kid's forgotten one of our names. Like, we know he's almost 50, but this is bad. Guys, he doesn't know who we are. And they all looked around, and at the guy at the end of the table, he looked around, he was like, me? And I said, yeah, what's your name? He said, Tony. I said, Tony, you want to come and join us? I said, now I realize you're on your break and you're sitting there eating, so I don't want to, feel free to say no. But if you want to come and join us, come on over and join us. And he said, you sure you don't mind? And I said, nope. So Tony gathered up all of his stuff, and he came over and he sat down at our table, and he plopped down, and everybody at the table just kind of looked around like, okay, this is happening. Like, we going to invite all the Bojangles workers to just come in here? Like, Skid, are you about to go and start making chicken while he's sitting here with us? Like, is he taking over the D group? And I just said, Tony, I just got to tell you, I've been sitting here for months, and I see you sitting there, and I feel bad that I've never said, what's your name? He said, well, my name's Tony. And I said, Tony, what's the most interesting thing about you? That's the first question that I always ask a stranger, not the first, but one of the first. When I sit down and have a conversation, what's the most interesting thing about you? And it throws people off guard because they're expecting you to say, where are you from, or what's your name, or what do you do? And I just said, what's the most interesting thing about you? And he said, well, he said, I was baptized when I was 17 or 18. He said, maybe 19, 17 or 18. He said, and made Jesus the Lord of my life. I was like, well, this is a good start. He said, I played football at MTSU. I was like, okay, that's pretty good. And I said, anything else? And he said, well, yeah. He said, for the last 4 months, I get to choose when I take my break. And I've been taking my break for the past 4 months to come and sit over here so I could listen to your Bible study every Tuesday night. And everybody got really quiet then, especially me, because I'm thinking, oh, goodness, what have we said? What have we talked about? What has he heard? Oh, Tony, please don't let that be the judge of anything. And he said, I get to choose when I take my break, and I decide to choose or take my break when you guys are here. And I could tell that he was paying attention. But I also knew, which I didn't know for 4 months, that he was already a Christ follower. We sat down at the table, and we had talked a little bit about this IMDb thing. You remember that, about the goofs in the movies? And you go and you look up a movie, and you see all your goofs. And Ecclesiastes 7 and 8 are pretty much, I told you a couple weeks ago, if you make a goof in your life, if you've made a goof in the past couple of weeks, which, by the way, all of us have, you're pretty much going to see it in Ecclesiastes 7 or 8. And as we started reading it, remember, some of you were like, maybe you didn't acknowledge it. You're like, oh, yeah. I've done that. Or, ooh, I messed that up. I've done that. And so we were chatting about that just a little bit. And we talked about Alfred Nobel, who his brother passed away, and he saw his obituary in the newspaper. And it was about him being the inventor of dynamite and responsible for killing more people than anybody else. And he said, I don't want that to be what I'm known for. I'm not the one that died. He gets a chance to do it again. And so he comes up with a Nobel Prize that honors 5 areas, one of them being peace, because he wants his name attached to something else besides what he read in his obituary. And so we talked a lot about the day of life versus the day of death, and how the day of death is better than the day of life. And you're like, okay, Solomon, you had me until you got to this point. This makes absolutely no sense. And so here we are sitting at the table, and there's Tony down there at the end. I asked for permission to take this picture. And I said, so Tony, can you just tell us a little bit about your faith journey? And what Tony said completely changed. I mean, it really, really changed my heart a couple weeks ago. Tony said, I walked away from Jesus in high school when I got out of high school. And some of the guys correct me if I get a fact wrong or story, because I don't want to alter the story. He said, I walked away from Jesus, and he goes, I was raised, my family, his dad, I think, is a preacher. He said, my dad's a pastor, and he said, and my grandmother, I was raised in the church. He said, but I just decided, you know what? When I got to school, there was a lot more other choices, a lot of other fun things I could do, and I started doing all those things. And he said, and man, I lived it up, and I loved it. He said, until my sister was killed in a car accident by a drunk driver. And he said, and when I realized that day that my sister was no longer around, and if I was ever going to see her again, then I was going to have to live the way she lived her life. And he said, and that woke me up. And I'm just sitting there thinking, the day of death is better than the day of birth. That Tony says, that changed my life. Now, do we want everybody to have a wake-up call like that? Of course not. But that's what Solomon is talking about. I've known quite a few students. I talked to a teenage guy. I'll be general. It's not anybody you know. It wasn't anybody at this church. But I will tell you this, because Solomon would say, and next week we're going to actually look at 7 ways that you can know if you're a fool. I talked to a teenage guy who told me that he said, my friends, they all, a bunch of them went out on a trip together, went camping together. I talked to the youth minister also at this church. Try to be somewhat vague. Not that I need to be vague, but I want to be sensitive. And he said, we were just we were just beginning to get it to the age, they were like 9th and 10th, 11th grade guys. They were like, we were just getting to that place where we were independent and got to be away from our moms and dads. And they would let us go because we were all, guys that played on a team together, all that were classmates together. And he said, and we went camping, and one of the guys brought a bunch of alcohol on the trip, and it was the first time that this one guy had ever had anything to drink. He said, and so they got him convinced to really get pretty drunk. He said until the next morning we all got up, and he didn't come out of his tent. And they went to get him, and during the night he had gotten so drunk that he had thrown up and had drowned and had died. And this young college-age guy that's talking to me is just kind of staring off at the floor as he's describing this. And he said, and I just realized that the path that I was on was going to lead me and other people to complete and utter destruction unless I changed the way I was going. That's what Solomon's talking about. Solomon says there are moments when things happen and you realize this is not the path of wisdom. This is the path of a fool. Next week, we'll look at 7 ways that you can check off. And I took the test today to remind myself of it. I went down the list. And I'll tell you, not to, for no other purpose than to make you feel a little bit more comfortable, I think I had failed all of them at some point in my life. So I'm not the preacher telling you how to be like me. I'm just letting you know that I'm still alive and I'm still here. But I failed all 7 of these at some time. But if you fail all 7 of them at once, it's going to change the path of somebody's life, probably in a destructive way. Tony, we sat there and we talked a little bit, and he spoke for a few moments about what that moment did to him. And then things got the conversation changed. It got a little bit lighter, and I said, well, Tony, you said you played football. What was the greatest play you ever made? He goes, well, it was the greatest play, but the most significant one I ever made, I can tell you about. And I said, sure. He said, I once blocked an extra point attempt, and I blocked it, and I ran it back 97 yards for nothing. Because at that point, you got no credit or no points for going and running back an extra point. And he said, I ran it all the way back. I spiked it, ran back to the sideline. I was high-fiving everybody. And my coach, he just said, way to go, Tony. You just ran 97 yards and made a fool of yourself for nothing. He said, but I made the news. He said, they showed it on 2 news stations and wrote about it in the paper. He said, and my other teammates, he said, they gave me a lot of grief about it. But we sat there and we talked to this guy, and I'm going to close tonight. I know we didn't get to spend a lot of time here because I wanted to talk about what's going to happen on the 21st. We spent a lot of time talking about this passage from Ecclesiastes 7, and I'm going to close with this. Would you look at verse 11 of chapter 7? Wisdom, like an inheritance, is a good thing, and it benefits those who see the sun. Wisdom is a shelter, as money is a shelter. But the advantage of knowledge is this: wisdom preserves those who have it. Consider what God has done. Who can straighten what He has made crooked? When times are good, be happy. But when times are bad, consider this: God made the one as well as the other. Therefore, no one can discover anything about their future. Verse 15, in the meaningless life of mine, I've seen both of these: the righteous perishing in their righteousness, and the wicked living long in their wickedness. Do not be over righteous, neither be over wise. Why destroy yourself? Do not be over wicked, and do not be a fool. Why die before your time? It is good to grasp the one and not let go of the other. Whoever fears God will avoid both extremes. He's not saying don't be too wise. He says don't be haughty in your wisdom. So I don't think he's saying, oh, wait a minute. He says don't be too smart, just be smart enough. No, he says don't be overwise and be self-righteous and let everybody else know how wise you are. And then he certainly says don't be over wicked and be like a fool. Verse 19. Wisdom makes one person more powerful than 10 rulers in a city. Indeed, there is nobody on earth who is righteous, no one who does what is right and never sins. And then verse 21 probably deserves an entire series on its own, but we'll close with it. Do not pay attention to every word people say, or you may hear your servant cursing you. For you know in your heart that many times you yourself have cursed others. Look at verse 25. I turned my mind to understand, to investigate, and to search out wisdom and the scheme of things, and to understand the stupidity of wickedness and the madness of folly. The last thought I want you to hear before you leave tonight from verse 21, don't pay attention to every word people say, or you may hear your servant cursing you. We're going to talk more about that later because that one's a really important one. If you've made a goof in the past year, it's probably because of something you've said about somebody else that's hurt them, or you've gotten mad about something that somebody said about you, because people are always paying attention. I learned something really valuable 2 weeks ago on a Tuesday night sitting in a fast food chicken restaurant. And that was, the most unlikely of people may be sitting there and overhearing what you say, and not just overhearing, but rearranging their lives so that they take their break so they can sit and listen to you talk about Jesus or whatever it is you're talking about. Tony got up to leave, and as he did, there was a young guy, I don't know how old he is, another worker, probably 16, 17 years old. He went and sat down. And he was sitting off to the side. And Tony got up and he came over to me as he was gathering up his stuff, and he leaned over and he said, whatever y'all keep talking about it, because he needs to hear it. And he patted me on the back, and then we got up and got ready to leave. Tony's in this restaurant. He knows that kid. I don't know him yet. The next challenge is to invite him to come over to our table because he looks a whole lot more like the guys at that table than Tony does. But we wanted to make sure that Tony knew that he was welcome at this table. And for one night, sitting in a really strange, simple restaurant, I looked around and I just thought, this is the world. This is what God wants. He wants us to reach out to strangers, those that don't look like us, those that may have a different color of skin than us, those that are a different age than us, those who've lived and grown up in different ways than us, those that understand things about life that we'll never understand. And He wants us to sit at the same table and to say, hey, let's just get to know one another, and let's just find out what is the most fascinating thing about you. Do you realize that one of those conversations is waiting on you tomorrow? It's waiting on you. It took me, 49 years of age, about 4 months to work up the guts to finally just speak to a stranger and say, you want to come join us? Because I thought he would probably say, no. Because I've watched you knuckleheads for about 4 months, and I don't want to be a part of that. But he said, you sure you don't mind? And he popped right over, and he sat down, and then last night we saw him again, and he couldn't take his break last night because they were pretty busy, which is very rare. They were very busy there, and he said, hey, I'm so sorry I couldn't take my break tonight, but I'll be here next week. Somebody's listening to you, and they're overhearing everything that you're doing and you may have no idea. But just be aware of who those people are. Invite them over to your table, whether physically or metaphorically, and ask them what the most fascinating thing is about you. And you'll be blessed by your answer. Next week, we're going to continue to dive back into 7, 8, and 9. We got your sheets right here, your $5. Be looking for the camp sign up, and the impact sign up will go online live. We'll text you when it happens. If you're not signed up for the text, you're going to probably be left out of the loop. So ask one of us how to get signed up for those. I'm going to say a prayer for you, and then we'll let you go. God, I thank you for tonight, and I thank you for the book of Ecclesiastes, and I thank you for 520,000 Bibles and for kids in Eastern Europe and for Eastern European missions, and I thank you for Tony and the service that he provides at Bojangles and for the young man that he's already mentoring and that he wants to know more about Jesus. I thank you for the $5 that are just waiting and hidden in creative places that these teens are going to uncover, and the Bibles that they will represent, and the children who are going to get them. God, all of those things, we're just overwhelmed at the reality of what you are doing in our midst. And we're mindful that you are always eavesdropping and sitting at a table across from us, hearing everything that we're talking about. And my prayer is that the words of our mouth and the meditations of our heart be pleasing in your sight, oh God. It's through your Son Jesus that we pray in his name. And we all say together, amen. God bless you guys. Have a great night.